Interesting. Teddy, I'm just going to bring us on to, as part of the format for the podcast, being a half dozen things, we've got 6 key learning points that we wanted to get through today. And I just want to kick those off because I think it's going to be really, really enlightening for people. And it's so topical for us as well coming into Pride Month. So the first one, could you just explain the letters or help us understand the letters between LGBTQIA?
Yeah. So before I do this, just a little note. The worst thing you can do ever, and this happened to me many times at a networking event, somebody's talking about the community and you can't remember all the letters. Do not do this. LGBTQIA. Never ever do that. You can shorten it to LGBT plus. That's absolutely fine. You can do LGBTQ plus. That's absolutely fine. Or you can do the full letters. But never just start putting random letters in because that's only going to pee the person off. And every time somebody does that to me, they're just dead to me. Salt the earth, done. So that's really important. And also as well, it's almost like you're making a mockery of that, which isn't great. Okay, so the first letter L. So it either goes LGBTQIA plus or it goes GLBTQIA plus. Doesn't matter. Either way is absolutely fine. So your first letter is L. It stands for lesbian. So a woman who is in love with a woman.
Yeah.
Simple and straightforward. G stands for gay. So normally, gay actually can mean lesbian and anybody that sort of likes the same sex as them. But in this instance, it actually means gay men. So a man who is in love with a man or fancies men. Yep. B is bisexual. So bisexual is somebody that likes both genders, so is a male and a female. There's a lot of sort of stigma around bisexual people, not just because a lot of people think that, again, they use sort of the term phrase or they say that they're greedy or they're equal opportunists. It might just be that they like both men and women and that'd be it. But for some reason, a lot of people, and especially in the community as well, there's a lot of like not hate, because I hate to use the word hate because I think it's quite strong, but there is a lot of, if you're bisexual in the community, it's very sort of a heated debate, let's just say. So T is trans, and trans used to just mean transitioning. We no longer use the word transsexual. That's no longer acceptable or deemed acceptable. We don't use the word transvestite because, again, that's not acceptable. So trans is sort of an umbrella term for anybody that wants to transition, or anybody that likes to be on that gender spectrum that I spoke about earlier. So I would sort of, if you want to give me an umbrella bracket, I would fit under trans, as it were. But I don't want to transition. And there is a bigger conversation around that because you have to try and find for some people just think that if you're trans, you want to transition. That's not the case. It means a whole boatload of different gender identity for that. So Q is queer. So queer was a derogatory word, a bit like the F word. That some people used to call gay men, that I shall not speak. Yeah. The LGBT plus community took that word back and now use it for themselves. You should never, as an outside LGBT person, unless they have identified themselves as queer, call somebody queer. That's just not right. So, and a queer person is somebody that can be gay, can be a lesbian, might dress in female clothing and male clothing. A queer artist is someone like Sam Smith. So he's come out as queer, which is amazing. So then we move on to I, which is intersex, which is basically in both sexes, essentially. I can't really speak too much about that because I don't really know a lot about it. But find out what intersex means. It might be good little homework piece for everybody. And A is asexual. So an asexual person is somebody that doesn't want to have sex with anybody. but might find that person, but might want to have a romantic relationship. So, and in each of these headings or titles, you will have a lot of underneath. So you might have, for instance, an asexual romantic person. They won't just call them asexual. They'll have their own special sort of mini label, as it were.
Yeah.
And then you have plus.
Yeah.
So the plus actually stands for ally. And the reason why it isn't LGBTQIA anymore is because the community felt that allies shouldn't be part of the mainstream, that an ally should be on the outside supporting and helping. So that's why there's a plus there. Wow. And that's essentially all the letters. And if you really want to sort of see how you can support, or you just want to know more about it, just go and research those letters, because actually you'll go on a massive journey yourself, learning about, you know, different gender identities, different categorizations, different, because even in like lesbians, there's subcategories for being a lesbian, subcategories for being gay, you know, that kind of thing. So it is those, you do have those differing levels. And if you ever hear something, you can then go, oh yeah, I know what that's about. So yeah, so that's just sort of all the letters, really.
Okay, that's fantastic. It's very, very insightful, actually, and I find it's a little bit like one of the things I was going to say about my lad before and putting labels on stuff. There's certain things about him that sort of maybe would point towards if you were to label him with autism, but maybe he's just on a spectrum, so we just let him be how he is and just deal with it, you know. And I think that it's interesting that. So, how do you feel about that labeling element? Do you feel that it can be a good thing? I suppose it could be liberating if someone wants to have a label, but some people might go, do you know what? I don't really need a label. I just am what I am.
Yeah, and I think labels are very important if you need a label. So me personally, I do not label myself. I just am who I am. If I turn up to an event as Teddy, if I turn up to an event as Edward, I'm just living my life, and I've decided that day that I want to put makeup on and a dress on, or I don't, because I can't be bothered to. However, though, I do really understand why people do need labels. Mm-hmm. And I think the UK is in a very lovely is not the right word, but privileged place where actually, because we do accept other cultures the way we do, I don't really think labels are ginormous in this country. In other countries, they are absolutely massive, and you need to know exactly what you are, else you will offend somebody. And there is an element of that here. But I think, but this is my viewpoint on labels. If you want to have a label and you want to tell me your label is this, 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 and this, then fine. That's absolutely fine. I have no issue with that. If you don't want to have a label, absolutely fine. I think it also comes back from your upbringing. Like my parents just let me be whoever I wanted to be. And we never really had to have a serious conversation about what I wanted to be, or who I'm bringing home, or, you know, who I'm going to marry, or, you know, who I'm going to date, you know, what I want to be. It was just always, as long as you're happy and you're not hurting anybody, that's fine. And I think if a lot more people can have that attitude, then you won't have these massive mental health issues that we have, because people will just feel able to talk about their feelings honestly. And I think that's probably another piece for another time, but just being open and making sure, like what you said earlier about me giving you the safe space, you also have to make sure, not just you, but as in general, everybody has to make sure that their home is a safe place for their child, their friend, their, you know, their family, because we don't have many safe spaces in the world. And that's not just for LGBT plus people, that's, you know, women, people of colour, you know, ethnic minorities and all that kind of thing. We don't have many of those. So your home should become a safe space for that. And you should be able, hopefully, you should be able to have open conversations. That might be hard, you know. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, like with Dorothy and we're running down the yellow brick road. It's definitely not going to be that, you know, because I think about my parents. So they were brought up with being gay is wrong. Being gay is wrong. Every day they would hear about it. They also lived through the AIDS and the HIV scandal as well. I wasn't born, luckily, because I'm quite young. But you know, and again, because of the media making it so, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is what happens. And then you add a religious element on that. Not that my parents are religious, but you then add a religious element on that of this is God punishing people, and all that kind of thing. And, you know, you do have to have those serious conversations that might be hard because you're changing people's opinions. Yeah. And at the biggest, and I have to thank my parents for being so supportive and open and just being like, yeah, doesn't matter. But there are some people here locally who haven't had that privilege, haven't had that right. But yeah, it's, you know, I would always just say that it's just, you've just got to have that open space. You've just got to have that. You know, and it might be something that you might not want to do, but would you want to not have the conversation and then it be awkward or an elephant in the room, or would you rather have the conversation and get it out there? Because at the end of the day, your relationships are really important in life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I was.
100%. Fantastic.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate your time. Please do follow me at Pete Rushmer on LinkedIn, or on Facebook, follow Flagship Training UK, and you can find us on YouTube too at Flagship UK.